Recognizing the member for Chilliwack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for mentioning my constituency with a lot of gusto there. Thanks a lot. So the devastating floods of the past week have devastated many parts of British Columbia, Mr. Speaker. They've washed out roads and flooded farms and homes. In my community, we were forced to evacuate 1,000 homes. Thank goodness most are back. The Chilliwack was cut off from the rest of BC as roads were washed out and flooded. Highway number 1 is still underwater and impassable. Grocery shelves went empty and gasoline stations ran out of fuel. Farmers had trouble getting feed, and dairy farmers are still having to dump their milk. Community heroes stepped forward and helped out their community members in need. They came forward to help feed folks who were running out of food. A particular instance was Wilma's Transition Society came forward and gave out 2 semi-truck trailers full of ready-to-cook meal kits. An organization called Chain Chilliwack, which are for the most part a group of volunteers from our local Islamic center, were already community heroes before the flood. They have regular cleanups of downtown Chilliwack, seniors barbecues, supported our healthcare workers when there were large protests by anti-public health opponents at our hospital, and are planning on home delivering hampers full of food for Christmas. They have now put all hands on deck to assist folks with food security during this emergency. They've been delivering groceries and sundries to folks deeply affected by the flood with the help of generous donations from Islamic Relief Canada. These folks are truly dedicated to making our community a better place and are the definition of community heroes. I hope they continue their hard work in Chilliwack for years to come. Mr. Speaker, many of our residents have deep connections with the folks who live and farm on the Sumas Prairie, the hardest hit in the Fraser Valley. Many folks from all over, including Chilliwack, worked hard to save people and farm animals. I think we all remember the picture of folks on jet skis and in aluminum boats saving dairy cows and taking them to higher ground. There was even a hovercraft. One of our very own city councillors, Chris Clute, dairy farmer himself, was said to be involved in the rescue of hundreds of animals. On the Sumas River, a critical piece of infrastructure that is mitigating water levels is the Barrowtown Pump Station. Officials were worried that it would be overcome by the flooding and stopped working. That led to the city of Chilliwack issuing an evacuation order for 1,000 homes in Yarrow. Hundreds of volunteers from all over, including many from Chilliwack, spent all night placing sandbags around the pump station, and this allowed Yarrow's evacuation order to be downgraded to an alert. These volunteers hadn't been so willing to act, this disaster would have been immeasurably worse. Yarrow would have flooded, possibly other areas of Chilliwack, and the Sumas Prairie would have been even more devastated than it already has been, if that can be imagined. First responders have also been amazing in this disaster, Mr. Speaker. They have been coming from all around to help us out in the Fraser Valley. There are countless stories, but let me tell you about one in particular. I saw it in our local community paper. I think this story illustrates just how horrifying it would be to see the waters rising around you. A man was checking on his parents' home in Yarrow as the evacuation alert came through. He noticed that the water levels were quickly rising and a sudden wave of water went over the road and he was trapped. The water rose outside and in the house by half a foot an hour. His cell phone went dead and he was extremely worried that the pumps at the Barrowtown station would fail. He said to the Progress, quote, "The fear of the pump station breaking and the Fraser River flowing through me made me want to die." He was eventually rescued by the Coquitlam Fire Department and search and rescue personnel. There are countless stories of our emergency services rescuing people during this disaster, and I couldn't begin to try to tell them all here. While the floods in the Fraser Valley were devastating and we had many community heroes, there are heroes from all around the province that helped folks during this unprecedented rainfall and its aftermath. Folks were stranded by washed out and closed highways, cut off from the outside world. They needed food and shelter. Just up the number 1 from my community, Hope was hosting around 1,100 stranded travelers, No mean feat for a community of only 6,100 folks. Groups and individuals have done amazing things to help these travelers. One group, Khalsa Aid, got the help of London Air Services and flew in food to the stranded folks. London Air Services was also flying essential medications into Hope. These are truly community heroes. Countless stories of community heroes, whether frontline workers or volunteers, have been told, and they've done amazing things for their fellow community members during this unprecedented event. British Columbians have stepped up in amazing ways to help each other through these crises. Whether they are frontline workers or volunteers, we've seen that when the chips are down, British Columbians will pull together. We truly have a strong feeling of solidarity with each other. Mr. Speaker, I'll end here, and I look forward to hearing my colleague from the other side.